Hey, what's up, folks? It's Coach Karina. Welcome to November. Welcome to multisegmental flexion. So toe touch is our movement of the month that involves flexion in the whole body, all the various parts of the spine and the hips. And so what we're going to work on is, as always, we're going to start from the ground, building up. The exercises this week or this month are going to be in that category of high threshold exercises where we're working on increasing the threshold at which your compensation occurs. So we're trying to break down exercises to a point where we can train the nervous system to support the exercises in the workout, the rest of the exercises in the workout. So our first one is called assisted curl up. So it's just like a sit-up, but you're going to be in long sit. So legs stretched out long. I've got a medium amount of resistance attached with my tubing up over my head on my rack. You could also do this with a partner and have the partner standing just out in front of the feet, in front of my feet, facing the other direction, holding the band either straight up overhead or maybe just at their chest, but the band pointing behind them. That way they're working on their flexion control while, or anti-extension, while I'm working on my curl up. So I've got my knees straight, and what I'm going to do, I've got the band in each hand. What I'm going to do is sort of roll back, and I'm going to come down into all the way onto the ground, but one vertebrae at a time. And then of course the band is now pulling me up, and so I get to come up with that assistance. And rather than come up as one big piece like we went when we were doing a sit-up or have to use momentum, we can really focus on that flexion and the control. So we come down with control, and then we come back up with control. I think looking up at the anchor is a good way to kind of keep the neck aligned and everything in good posture. So just like most of the other things that I'm suggesting and prescribing here, rather than repetitions, I think time is better. So if you just kind of work at this for a minute each, switch partners. If you've got an odd number of people or if you've got plenty of bands, you can just attach them up overhead and let them work on it that way. So like I said, I suggest working in right before you do a round that's got some sit-ups involved, or some other ab work involved. At the end of the workout and cool down, we're going to do child's pose as a way to stretch flexion, as like a mobility exercise. So oftentimes we use child's pose, we have this nice wide space with the knees, and the belly can come in between the knees and we can stretch out, but you can see here my back isn't really bent. I really like this as a thoracic upper back extension exercise, especially if there's a little bit of support for the hands, and the upper back can actually really lengthen out nicely there. Gravity just kind of pushes it down toward the floor and it straightens out. However, right now if we want to focus on flexion, let's bring the knees in tight. So now my knees are touching and my spine's going to end up a lot more rounded. Now because this causes a lot more hip flexion, potentially knee flexion also, than the wide knee version, we're going to come down into it slowly. So it could be that people walk their hands out to here and that's all I got, and that's where there's a stretch or some resistance occurring, and that's where you stay. Maybe the elbows get to the ground. Maybe you walk your hands out in front of you, but you can see now that my spine is much more rounded than it was when I have when my knees are wider, back is flatter. Now my thighs get in the way, and I get to work on that spine flexion. Of course, if there's any like pinching pain in the knees, anything kind of grabbing in the front of the hips, we don't really want to push this. If it's a stretching sensation across the lower back, which is what I feel and I love in this stretch, then you go for it. So child's pose with narrow knees to help stretch lumbar flexion, lower back bending, and assisted curl-ups with the tubing. Let me know what you think. Happy November!